Austin Tech Connect is the official podcast of the Austin Technology Council. Founded in 1992, ATC exists to help unite the local technology ecosystem and to encourage the spread of community, collaboration, and conversations in Central Texas. This podcast is sponsored by SailPoint. They are a leading provider of identity security for the modern enterprise, empowering organizations worldwide to put identity security at the core of their business. With a foundation of artificial intelligence and machine learning, SailPoint Identity Security delivers the right access to the right identities and resources at the right time. Now, here is this week's episode.
Hey there, and welcome to Austin Tech Connect, the official podcast of the Austin Technology Council. My name is Tom Singer, and I am with the ATC, and every single week, I try to bring really interesting interviews to this podcast, where you're going to hear from people who are impacting our tech ecosystem. And this week, we're going to talk to Connor Crawford, and he is from Pike Robotics. Hey, Connor, welcome to the show.
Hey, Tom, happy to be here.
I'm glad to have you here. Now, I didn't know Connor before a couple weeks ago. I met him during South by Southwest, and it turns out he's got a growing company that's doing some interesting things here in the greater Austin area. And I always like to bring these people onto the show so that I can expose them to everybody and also get them to get a little bit more exposed to our technology community. So for those of you who don't know Connor likes to develop products that really didn't exist before, especially things that weren't going on like when he was a younger kid. He likes to get in and have new stuff created. He gets personal value from helping create value for others. And at his heart, he is truly a creator. He builds things. And right now with Pike Robotics, he builds robots to go into areas that are dull, dirty, and dangerous. And we're going to hear a little bit more about what they do at Pike Robotics. But, you know, he's still working in engineering, but now in this role as CEO of the company, he also has to put on a strategy hat so he can look at his team and make sure he's putting the right people with the right experience to tackle the important problems that they're facing. So that's who Connor is and what he does. I want to hear a little bit more about where he came from. So, Connor, how did you get started in this world of robotics? What was your early career?
Yeah, thanks for the introduction, Tom. That was couldn't have done it better myself. My early career, I went to out of high school, went to the Air Force Academy for a little bit. I thought I wanted to be a pilot, and then I realized I kind of had a love for not so much flying the aircraft, but more so building the aircraft or designing the aircraft, all the things that go into it. So realized that I always had a little entrepreneurial bone in my body, and realized that maybe the Air Force wasn't the best place for that. So finished up college at Texas Tech University, the Harvard of the West, as they call it. And
do they call it that?
Someone has called it that. It might have been me. But then I got a good job at Lockheed Martin. I was a research and development and design engineer for them, working on F-16, F-35 platforms, and also some secret stuff as well. But can't talk about that. I kind of also worked on a Dream Chaser cargo series. It was a spacecraft that was fully composite. That would go to the International Space Station and back. And so the mission was basically to bring clean underwear up to the astronauts. That is what someone told me. And then I kind of realized I love. I wanted to have my own company. I wanted to be able to direct where I myself and my eventual future team would start working and create value for customers, and it's also a better path to financial independence at some point. So I went back to graduate school at the University of Texas at Austin here, and so that's kind of where I found a project. And a professor who's also my co-founder, Dr. Mitch Pryor. He's the head of the Nuclear and Applied Robotics Lab at UT, and we worked on this technology that was funded by a major oil and gas company, Phillips 66, and they put a lot of money. They put about $700,000 into the development of two different projects. One was a methane localization and detection robot, and the other one was this wall climbing storage tank inspection robot. And these are the type of storage tanks that you see on the drive to Houston on the side of the road. Those big white tanks. And a lot of people don't know they have a floating roof inside, and the purpose of that floating roof is to prevent the formation of and escape of volatile organic compounds. Methane is one of those. So we were looking at a way to keep humans from having to enter into that space, and so that's kind of started off on this graduate school journey, and then me and the professor, we started the company about 2 years in, and going from there.
Nice. It's interesting because we talk a lot about, things that were started in graduate school or even undergrad along with a professor, but we hear they often get stalled out, that it's hard to spin them out and actually, start a company. How did you get from, hey, we have this idea and we're actually going to spin out and make this into a real company? Because this is something I've never done, but I hear from a lot of people, there's a lot of roadblocks to getting that company spun out and started.
Yeah, I think the answer, as someone in jest, is to just be stubbornly persistent, Tom. And even when you get offered a really good, high-paying salary job after you get your master's degree, and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna hold out a little bit more. I'm gonna see if we can start this thing and get it going. And we got a big grant. One of the big things that allows you to keep something going, and instead of having it kind of fall by the wayside, is money. I don't know. So we got a big grant from the National Science Foundation towards the end of my graduate school career. We got about $275,000 to go in and continue the work that I was doing in graduate school for this autonomous storage tank inspection robot. So that was one of the big ways that I was able to keep it going. But you're right. I can't. There are tons and tons of tech, really cool tech, and really potentially useful tech that either was funded by a corporate, some industry partner, and either the money ran out and the graduate student moved on, or the professor lost interest in it. And there's so much tech just on the shelves that's just like, oh, there's businesses in all these university labs. And I would really encourage any prospective entrepreneurs out there to go search these technology websites for these university tech transfer offices, and see what's your whistle, what's interesting, and then go partner up with the grad student that started it, because they're going to know the most about the project. And yeah, there's potential for value creation.
No, that's interesting. And, some schools are much better historically. And we hear a lot about, their tech transfer, and some schools, it doesn't necessarily run as smoothly. I know, the legendary, ones, obviously Stanford and Carnegie Mellon have done a lot. Certainly in the world of robotics, Carnegie Mellon is doing a lot. But that's great that you were able to come out. And I know Carnegie Mellon because my daughter is a graduate from there, so I pay a lot of attention to what happens there. But that's great that you were able to get this up and going. How long ago was it that you graduated with your master's?
A little over a year ago. We stretched it out. It was one of those long masters. It was I'm one of the reasons I guess we're able to keep this going. I can be very stingy with the company's money and even my money, and I like to spend it on just the right things. Just the things that get you to that MVP. And like, if you went to my website right now, it's not the prettiest and not the really most informative. But we're just focused on developing on the product, and we'll worry about all that other stuff later. But yeah, I've been out of the university. Sorry, you're going to say something? Go ahead.
No, well, you brought up the case of being super frugal. I mean, we've seen a lot of companies in Austin that have gotten big funding, over 30 years and have blown through the funding with, a lot of fancy stuff that didn't lead them closer to what they were doing. And, I kind of take the attitude in running a nonprofit that, no matter what we do, we have to bring in more money than we spend. Yeah. There is nothing else than that. And so it's one of those things that I live every day trying to make sure that we're running as absolutely lean as we can. And I've seen companies not operate that way. And their runway gets a lot shorter that way. So what led you to being so frugal with the business?
Oh, that's probably a lot to unpack there. That you'd have to go back to childhood. You'd have to go back to all the things that make you who you are. I don't know. My parents were. I mean, they weren't like super wealthy, but they were very well off. And I don't know. They taught me the value of money. I didn't get like an allowance or anything like that. So I think. But I never wanted for anything, but they really did instill a lot of good hard work ethic in me, which that's one of the things I'm probably most proud of, of them and for instilling in me. And so the hard work ethic, I think, also comes from understanding that money doesn't. I mean, maybe in this stage it does. Money doesn't just grow on trees, but but I guess you have to work. You have to work for it, and so. And don't get me wrong, Tom, I would love to be able to sponsor a big tent at the Dell Match Play, even though they're not doing that anymore in Austin this year. But I would at some point that will happen, and then But even when we're a successful company, even when we're $1 million in ARR or whatever, I'm still going to keep a close eye on the finances.
Nice. All right, so you've been at this full time a little over a year now. Where is Pike Robotics now? Who is Pike Robotics? How big are you? And what are you doing? Tell us about it.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we're actually in kind of northeast Austin. The company formed we're in Mueller, if anyone's familiar with the area. Actually operating out of a kind of a hybrid space, hybrid kind of flex space up here, and we have about 10 employees and contractors. And it changed. We get a lot of our engineers and talent, you could say, from our relationship with the university. Whether it's the Nuclear Applied Robotics Lab at UT that I talked about earlier that we kind of spun out of, or like student organizations. I'll give a big shout out to the Robot Automation Society, or RAS at UT. They have a bunch of good engineers. So if anyone wants to go find some talented folks, it's funny. These I say kids. They're not kids. They're young adults. These young adults have been working in robotics since they were 12 or 11 or something like that. And it's the amount of tutorials online are insane in terms of like. I wish I had that when I was in high school, but I guess I was more worried about wherever I could find a 30 rack of Keystone Light. But I was.
Well, it is amazing, these kids in high school today. These robotics competitions. The parents, if your kid's on the robotics team, it's as bad as having your kid in band for the amount of things that are going on. That as a parent, you have to shuttle them to. That you have to go to competitions. I was always grateful with my kids; they were never in band, because it seemed like the band stuff was just overwhelming. But I have friends whose kids are on the robotics team at either Anderson or Austin High or LASA. And it's a lot going on, but they're also getting amazing exposure, to just, the ins and outs of building the robots and of engineering that, older people never would have had. If there even had been a robotics club, it would have been, an erector set in my day.
Yeah, that reminds me of the movie The Sandlot when he was building that erector set. That's top five for me. These kids or young adults will never want for a job with the skill sets that they're building. And whether the guys on our team currently stay with us or move on, this could be great. This project could be great experience for them, just to build the resume and actually build something that's going to be used in industry. I mean, we're actually, you kind of asked about where Pike Robotics is earlier, and we're in the stage where we've got a pretty good product, and we're going through the process of getting it certified for hazardous locations. Everyone's probably heard of, or at least maybe heard of the term UL listed or UL certified. It's called like Underwriter Lab. So if you look on the back of your refrigerator, for example, you'll see a stamp and it's like, all right, this went through this kind of testing. And so what's kind of really, I guess, sexy about our product is not so much the fact that it can do an inspection inside a storage tank, but just the fact that it can even be in that storage tank to begin with, because it's a very flammable environment. Any kind of spark with the motors or the other sensors, you could cause a chain reaction and you could lose that. and then they're like, yeah, we're not going to have you come back after that for a job. So, and so, yeah, right now we're doing a lot of demos. We got one with Shell coming up. We just did one with Chevron in Pasadena, not the fun Pasadena, but the one in Houston, Pasadena.
I actually grew up in the Pasadena in California.
Oh, you did? Yeah. Oh, cool. Well, I'd like to go out there too. But we're not just in Texas either. We're there's a job with Dow Chemical that we're looking at doing that might be in Houston, maybe somewhere else on the Gulf Coast. And then there's with Phillips 66, who was our kind of a original sponsor of this project. They actually will get a discount on our service once it's finalized and once the product's out there and doing well. So that's how they kind of recoup their investment and into us originally. We'll be going out to I think one of their low midstream terminal facilities in Salt Lake City in Utah. So that's yeah, we're going to be kind of going all around wherever there's a storage tank that needs an inspection that they don't want to have to send humans inside to do, and they don't want to have to drain the tank of whether it's gasoline or diesel or jet fuel or just crude oil. Anytime they want to avoid asset downtime, they want to improve safety, they want to improve the accuracy of the inspection. That's where we're gonna call on someone like Pike or some of our collaborators that do other inspections related to these energy or oil and gas or facilities and refineries.
So how fast do you see yourself growing? You said between contractors and employees, you're now, right around that 10 mark, which is kind of a magical mark for companies. I always say if you've got 10 people working for you, you're doing something right. So where do you see the company growing? How big does this company get?
Yeah, I guess that's a hard thing to say. I mean, I will say I'm thinking about when I think of the word niche, I think of that old Tim Ferriss book that I read, 4-Hour Workweek, a long time ago, and it was talking about don't pick a market that's too big because there's going to be a lot of entrants, a lot of participants, but don't pick one that's too small either. So we've looked at like the kind of what the global market is for our product, and kind of looked at it on the regional side as well. We've done a bottom up analysis, and we can do a portion of all the inspections that are required for these storage tanks, right? But there's a lot of other things that need to be done on these tanks that we can't do. And so, kind of to answer your question, kind of where I see us going, we might get acquired by another service provider like a Halliburton or like a Schlumberger that sees value in our robot, not just for storage tanks, but also for pipelines, for recovery boilers, for distillation columns, any type of asset that you don't want to have to send a human inside to. So now I'd probably like to stay, obviously, with the whatever happens. I'd like to still be with the same team and developing, and because at the end of the day, that's kind of what you want. You want to have that team to where you trust person A to work on the software, person B to work on the mechanical, person C to work on a lot of the electrical engineering aspects of the thing. And so you're really, regardless of your product and whether it starts making money, you're just going through that process. You're building a knowledge set for your team that is going to allow you to go work on any number of products. I mean, we've had customers say, "Oh, can you go build this robot for us?" And I haven't done like a market sizing on it, but it's like, yeah, it's at some point we're going to get told what to go build, and I'm really excited for that whenever the company gets to that stage.
So, as a first-time CEO who is growing a company, managing people is a big thing, and you talked about we were getting started. You talked about how you love working with people, finding their strength, making sure they're there. But a couple things. Number one, what do you look for when you hire employees? What are you looking for in the individual? And then I guess number two, what are you finding about managing people and identifying those strengths? What's it like to be a first-time manager?
Yeah. So in terms of how do you find those people? A lot of times we'll go to these student organizations, and we'll find people that are hungry to work on a product for that is not going to just be used in the classroom or in the lab. It's going to actually be used in industry. And what I'll do a lot is, if someone's interested in working with us, I have a test of whether it's on the mechanical side or on the electrical side or on the software side, and I'll give them like a limited scope project. I'll say, hey, here's you got a few days. I don't expect them to have it completely perfect or anything, but I just kind of want to see how they work, what questions they ask. Are they going to be relying on me to answer every little part of the problem, or are they going to take it upon themselves to go do a little due diligence and go on Google and find out what's been done before to solve this problem? And so I really like individuals that can find solutions to problems and be somewhat independent, somewhat autonomous on their own. I think that's, and I would say that about any job, really, whether it's Pike Robotics or whether it's Lockheed Martin. You want any manager wants a self-starter. And we don't really care if you make mistakes. I mean, don't blow up the robot or whatever, but move fast and break things. That's what every startup needs. And yeah, I think that's what I look for in an individual.
And then the second part of the question is, now that you're a first-time CEO, what are you finding about managing people?
Yes. You might start off with a schedule of how you want to be spending your day, and then you'll get asks from all these people in the office or in the lab, and it kind of just throws off your schedule. And so, but honestly, those conversations are the most important things. So it's really a matter of just being flexible enough to not be like, oh, don't bother me. I gotta get this up. I gotta update this investor slide deck, or I gotta finish this email to this customer. It's the most important thing is building that relationship with your team and making sure that they're comfortable with coming to you with the problem or getting your opinion on something. And I don't do as much engineering as I used to, but I still know when people can go down rabbit holes, and I can, because I've done it myself. I've gone down the wrong path for months at a time sometimes. And I can say, no, don't go down that route. Let's try something easier. Let's try something that's been done before. So yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things that I've kind of learned. And also, I don't know, I probably need to do better about this sometimes, but just being a little bit, you need to be empathetic about, because what's clear in the mind of the manager is not always clear in the mind of the subordinate. And so it's doing that knowledge transfer is really difficult sometimes to get what's in your head into someone else's head. So I don't know, I think just being flexible and just kind of going with the punches and communicating, having little sit downs with them every few days and just saying, hey, how's it going? Are you enjoying this work? Is this the skill set that you want to be building? Because I mean, yeah, startups, we can't pay you just a ton of money. So you gotta kind of love what you're doing,
So there's a growing robotics industry here in Austin. Is
Mm-hmm.
there some sort of a group? Are you guys involved in your own sort of a little organization? I mean, we're trying to get the robotics companies to get involved with the Austin Technology Council, but is there a robotics group? Do you know all the other robotics companies here?
I do. Yeah. Buddy of mine, Ethan Blagg, he actually was for a while there, he was putting together this kind of hard tech happy hour, or meetup. And I think I was texting him the other day. I think we're going to start bringing that back up. Because there's a lot of CPG happy hours. There's a bunch of other, software as a service happy hours. There's big communities for that, but, and maybe it's because those individuals are more, I don't know, a social life is usually something that they spend more time investing in anyways. and roboticists and other mechanical and electrical engineers, they kind of like, they want to just be working on the product sometimes. So it's sometimes hard to get us out of our little shells that we're like, oh, I don't have time I gotta meet this deliverable for the product. And so it's sometimes hard to get us out of the house or out of the office. But we're making an invested effort, and I'm really excited kind of with all the another company is that I've gone to their place a few times, actually for another podcast as well, was Pipe Dream Labs. They working on, if you haven't spoken with them, they're working on the kind of the shuttling of goods kind of food and toiletries and whatever underneath in the pipelines of whether the sewage pipelines or pipelines that they lay for like new subdivisions. And I don't know, there's a lot of cool tech up there, and there's a lot of really smart folks, and I'm just kind of blessed to basically be a part of this ecosystem. And so I enjoy all the Austin entrepreneurs, all the technologists, and it's a great place. It's growing.
Well, if there's some way the Austin Technology Council can help formalize some of that, I'd love to have a conversation, just because I love the idea of the hard tech happy hour. I think that's freaking awesome. So if we can somehow help promote it, if nothing else, make sure you let me know. So switching gears here a little bit, I always ask the people who come on the show, what do you think's great about the Austin technology community, and where do you think we need to maybe work on it a little bit?
Yeah. Okay. That's good. The tech community, what can we do to improve that? Well, the first thing that comes to mind is people, right? The first thing that comes to mind is employees, and that's one of the hardest things to find is good people. So, somewhat of just a good database of person A that wants to work in oil and gas, person B that wants to work in some other form of energy, some person C that wants to work in warehouse robotics. That would be great, is having just a collection of engineers that want to work on cool stuff, and that would make the job of the entrepreneurs and the CEOs a little bit easier in building out their teams. Another thing, the other thing is money. The other thing is grant funding. We were lucky enough to have a grant from the U.S. government, and so, but not all startups are gifted with the ability to just to write beautiful proposals to the government to say, yes, please give us money. So I don't know, that part of like finding that connection between funding and then and maybe even doing some sessions, some like kind of what should a CEO know? I guarantee there's things that I don't know about running a company that I probably will find out later. But maybe where we just have once a month or once every couple of weeks, we just have someone gets up there and says, here's all the things that I screwed up that I wish I would have known at the time. And then maybe that keeps someone else from going down that same path. So really just kind of a monthly or bi-monthly kind of forum that we all just kind of get together, and we force ourselves to get out of the lab and quit working on the code, or quit working on the mechanical design. And so something like that.
Nice. All right. So I ask everyone who comes on the show this question. So my personal motto is community, collaboration, and conversations can solve all problems. And I really believe that's true. And sometimes I point out the fact that what if our leaders in Washington, D.C., when they entered the rotunda, had to operate only under community, collaboration, and conversation? I think we'd have a better government and probably a better world. So taking this down to just you, when I say those three words, which one resonates the most with you and why?
Collaboration is the one that resonates the most with me, just because that's and everyone's limited in what they understand about the world, or what they understand about whether it's in the low level, the product that they're working on. So there's so many times where the wheel has been reinvented across so many companies and across so many other organizations. And if you just had a conversation with with someone else that had done this before, you could save yourself and your team some heartache. And then they come to you at some point later and say, hey, have you ever had experience with this? And you're like, no, but I know someone who's really good at for us, like we work on these umbilical lines, these that connect the robot to like the ground station and give it like power and data, and even nitrogen in our case. But just the ability to just pick each other's brains and say, and there's going to be, regardless, there's going to be shared overlap of what we do, just because of the nature of engineering. And there's going to be a lot of ways that we all can help each other just by forcing us to have conversations. So Tom, I'm going to follow up with you and make sure that we're going to start having these recurring forums where we can pick each other's brains.
Well, and I agree. I mean, all three words are important and they all go together, but I believe we're living in an age of collaboration, more so than we probably have in the last 10 or 20 years. And I think that the Austin tech community, as we go through changes and as Texas goes through changes, I think the more we can collaborate and bring people together, I think the better off we're all going to be. So one more question for you, Connor.
Yes, sir.
If you had a friend coming to town who'd never been to Austin and you wanted to show them the Austin that you love, where would you take them? Either restaurant-wise or attraction-wise or something?
Rustic Tap. It's my favorite kind of spot on 6th Street. We were just there for St. Patty's yesterday.
Nice.
Drinking had a green Bud Light. That was fun. But Rustic Tap, or maybe I like to do a little golfing. So I might take him to the Butler pitch and putt.
Nice.
Across the road. That's always a fun day out.
Awesome. Well, Connor, if somebody listened to this and they're like, I have to know more about this Connor Crawford guy, or I need to know about Pike Robotics, how do they find you? Yeah.
We got a couple emails, but the one if anyone wants to reach out to me, we have info@pikerobotics.com. You can also find us on online, www.pikerobotics.com. There's some forums where you can reach out to us through there. But we're in between Houston and Austin, and if you want to come see the robot, come see the office. We're up in Mueller, and just send me an email, and happy to schedule a meeting.
Nice. Well, we're looking forward to seeing great things from Pike Robotics. I like nothing more than to interview a young, growing entrepreneur and then see great things in their future and say, I knew him when I interviewed him back in 24. I know them.
And I'm honored to be a part of this podcast. Listen to a few episodes beforehand, and it was it's cool. It's cool all the folks that you've talked to, and I'm honored to be on one of your shows. So thanks for having me. Thank you,
and we hope to see you around the Austin Technology Council events in the future. And thank you for being a guest on the show. But more important, thank you to everybody who tuned in and listened. You know what? If it wasn't for the audience, there'd be no reason to do this show, and the audience keeps growing. But the only way it grows is through word of mouth. So do me a favor. Make sure all your coworkers and all your neighbors who are in tech know the show exists and they're checking out what we're doing every week, because we're trying to bring you these interesting interviews with people you may have never heard of before, but that are doing great things right here in the Austin tech community. Plus, now is the time to get involved with the Austin Technology Council. We're looking to the future. Our position is to celebrate the past, but you can't live in the past. It's to be present in the now, because that's where the things are happening, but also to be preparing and looking forward to the future. And we can't do it alone. We have to have all the civic-minded entrepreneurs and all the tech people really involved, helping us celebrate the past, be present in the now, and look to the future. So check us out at austintechnologycouncil.org.
Thanks for listening to the Austin Tech Connect podcast. Make sure your company is a member of the Austin Technology Council and add your voice to the future of our tech ecosystem in Central Texas.